Welcome to Crude Moto. What we're doing today is we have Jesse's iron heads, and we're going to be pulling the valves out of them, lapping the valves, and then sending them away for powder coat. So I thought I'd just show you how we're going to lap the valves. If you remember, he melted his piston from the other video. What we're going to do is we got to clean some of the aluminum off the valves. I think the valves are still usable. There's a bit of crud on them, but we'll polish them up, give them a good lapping, and get the rest of the heads powder coated. Should come out all right. This head was off the good motor. There's just a bit of carbon buildup in there. It's really not too bad. You can tell it's running a little bit lean. And on this one, we've got a little bit of aluminum from the piston that we're gonna clean up and just get these things lapped. So you don't need a whole bunch of tools when you're lapping valves. Basically, you just need this one specific tool, which is for pulling the valve springs. You need one of these suction cup plungers, because that's what's actually gonna be doing the lapping. A little bit of valve grinding compound. And just a pick to get the retainers off. That's about it. Okay, so what we're gonna do is you're gonna put your valve tool on like this. You're gonna put the biggest end you have that fits inside the valve, and the other end on the retainer. I'll show you as soon as I get it set up here. Okay, so what we got here, you put this end on the valve, this end on the retainer, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna screw this down until retainers pop off, trying to keep everything in line. There's actually 2 sets of springs on each valve. So once you can press the spring a little bit, these retainers, just take a pick in there. They should be loose. Hope your camera can see this. Pull out the retainers and simply decompress the spring. Just be careful because there's a lot of tension on it as well. Once you got that pulled off, the rest of the valve just comes out. You see the 2 springs, top retainer. Flip the head over, the valve comes right out. And she is pretty crusty. So we're just gonna buff that up a little bit and do some lapping on that. I always like to mark the valves. Just throw one on there, might come off anyways. That way you don't mix up the valves between the heads. So ultimately what we're trying to do is we want to sand the edge of this valve so it perfectly sits in this little valve, in the head here. And then what that's going to do is when the valve closes, it's not going to allow any air to leak through, which is going to give you better compression. we take our suction cup tool. I'm gonna stick it right to the valve. You're gonna take your valve grinding compound, take a little bit of that, and you're gonna put it all around the edge of the valve. You don't have to use this stuff sparingly. Plunk that in the valve body. And all you're doing now is back to Boy Scout basics. Just trying to start a fire. Apply a little bit of pressure downwards. And what this is doing is just sanding that edge. Just keep doing it, and you'll actually hear the sound change. Goes from a real grindy sound to kind of a smooth sound, and you'll feel it in the stick as well. And right there, we're going pretty smooth. Doesn't take long. You can hear the grinding. And you should get to a point where there's almost no grinding sound at all. Pop that off. I'm gonna pop the valve back out. And this one is done. Most Harleys only have 2 valves per head. You got your intake valve and your exhaust valve. So you just gotta do it 4 times on this one, which is kind of nice because usually the Japanese stuff I work on have a lot more than this, especially on 4 cylinders. After we get this head back from powder coat, that's gonna fit in there perfectly. Perfect seal on it. And hopefully no more compression issues. Now let's do it 3 more times. This is the valve from Jesse's good head, and the one where the piston broke and melted. You can actually see chunks of aluminum on the valve. Now that I've scraped it up a little bit, this kind of what it looked like with all this aluminum on the back end and little drips of aluminum here. So we're going to try to clean that up the best we can and attempt to give her a lapping. Hopefully this head can be saved.